Good afternoon and welcome to SKR season 6 round 5. And if that pit lane looks very strange, it's because it is very strange. During the week it's a market. We're in Monte Carlo. Already some drivers getting out on track very early. This is probably the worst track on the calendar to start from the back of the field. So guys, I want to get out, get a lap time, set a benchmark, see where they are, and then try and improve from there. 15 runners starting this qualifying session. We may get an additional driver or two going into the race. Shortest circuit on the calendar, 3.3 kilometers. And it's a circuit everyone wants to win at. "16 minutes remain in the session. Dixie Killer's still in the pits. Overhand's still in the pits. The rest of the field all out on circuit. So 13 cars out on circuit. Busy racetrack. Good afternoon to Tion, Death Queen, Lampoon, the real one I hope, as well as Ian. I hope you're ready for the SK round here at Monaco. What a challenging track this is. Obviously it has lost a little bit of its uniqueness. A lot of street tracks on the F1 calendar these days, but nothing quite like Monaco. Let's get some onboard footage of this circuit going into that famous hairpin. That's going to be an interesting hairpin in lap 1. Really difficult to get around there, especially if cars decide to go side by side. That chicane never used to exist, and this corner used to be suicidal. First laps now coming on the screen. It's AlphaTauri 1-2, Skull and Andre 1:11.6, 1:12.1. Big difference between those two times. We're going to see Virus go over the line shortly, and it's good enough for P3. It's a 1:12.3. Red Bull driver Damo, he went P4. Chums has just gone over the line P5, immediately demoted. P6, Pantry Star, currently P2 in the championship. He's down in P7. Might get some interesting results here. You're going to have some incredibly fast drivers who maybe just don't like this circuit. So may get a shake-up of the order. Or we may find out that the fast guys in this league are consistently fast throughout the calendar. But this is a track I tend not to practice. Still waiting for lap times from Divan, Dixie Killer, Revolution, Disguise and Gotzi. It seems like Top Gun has retired from the session. Not sure if that was a voluntary retirement or if that was an incident. We are in Monte Carlo, so An incident is a very likely outcome. Pantry Star, there we go. Second in the championship. Now goes into provisional pole, a 1:11.4. And what do you guys reckon in the comment section? Very low 11s, or will we see a 10? And from who? Currently Pantry Star, Skull P2, Mr. Rem P3. A lot of drivers have done that first run. Divan, no movement from him, he's still in the pits. Fixer Killer, no lap time from him, but he is out on track. He's about to go through Casino, looking for his first lap time. Revolution and Disguise also looking for their first lap time. Both those drivers are out on an outlap. But for the Alpine, so far so good, 11.4. Skull P2, 11.6. He's already out there on an outlap to have a second go. Fresh set of softs. Mr. M going straight at the chicane. Is that a bad camera angle? Or nope, it's not a bad camera angle. He's missing his entire front wing. He was able to go P3, so I assume he lost that wing on the end lap. Ooh, and hitting the wall, but getting away with it. Don't want to do that on your fast lap though. And Andre dives into the pits. Pantry Star still 11.4. No one's beat it yet. This is Dixie Killer. Just ahead of his teammate currently by 2/10. The Ferrari's 9th and 10th. At Magosi P11. This is Revolution. It's right on board with him. See what he can come up with. No lap time as of yet, and I really don't think the McLaren team are going to like me very much by the end of the season. Whether it's in this league or the other, I always seem to mess up the McLaren's race. With Monte Carlo being so short, it's also quite unique in the fact that you can just about get 2 laps with hot lap. Looks like Revolution is having another go. He has to have another go, even if it's not a good lap, just so he can get that lap time down. Still no lap time from several drivers. 5 of them, in fact. Make it 4. Top Gun obviously retired from the session, so he'll be starting from 17th. That means 2 drivers have joined us since the start of quali. We're talking about the man P2 in the championship being on provisional pole, while the leader of the championship, well, he's just taken the wind out of everyone's sails. That's a 1:10.4. And I'm sure your math is good enough to work that out. That's an entire second. Don't think I've seen that for a while. Front row, split by a second. This is the Alpha Tauri of Skull, currently P3, looking for an improvement. If he can find himself 2.5 tenths, he'll go P2. But Pantry Star is on an outlap of his own, and he doesn't need a small improvement, he needs a rather big improvement. He needs an entire second. Afro stays out, has another go. This will be on used tyres then, because I didn't see him pit. That was either the internet or that was Afro getting very out of shape. Pantry Star, P2, is about to start another fast lap. Right on board with Pantry Star, looking for an improvement to go P1. He's going to have to find an entire second. When you just need to find a 10th or 2 or even 3, you always know it's a breaking point. Anything you messed up on the previous lap, you'll know where it is. You'll know you've got an extra 10th, but when it's a second, sometimes you find yourself scratching your head thinking, where? Where do I find a second? It's this virus going through the tunnel, on top of which the Monte Carlo casino is built. We have a tyre in the middle of the chicane. I'm going to guess that was Top Gun's tyre. Now here we go, he's either going to dive into the pits. Yes, he dives into the pits. Obviously wasn't happy with that lap time. Now Pantry Star, he's going to go over the line any second. This is now to start a fast lap. 2 cars coming out of the pits, luckily staying out of the way. Really short racetrack. 17 cars in the field and you can get a very busy, tight street track where nobody's going to be able to get a final run at the end. So everyone needs to make sure that they have enough space for a final run. And if you're on a slow lap or an in lap, make sure to watch those mirrors. Still riding with the Alpine. Best of an 11.4. 1 second from provisional pole. You might think he's down in 10th, but he's not. He's in P2. But look at that. Purple in Sector 2. Pantry Star needs an improvement of a second. How much is he going to be able to find? Does he improve at all? 11.4. And he does improve, but by a couple of thousandths. 11.399. It's barely an 11.3. And I'm sure he would have been hoping for a little more than that. Now Virus has gone up into P3, 11.5, splitting Pantry Star and Skull. Just over 4 minutes remaining in the session. Very short racetrack, so everyone can still get out for one final run. But if you have left it too late, just look at that track map. A lot of cars right there in Sector 1. Consider yourself very lucky if you have a clean final run. As you can see, just cars everywhere. AlphaTauri going around a Red Bull and Aston Martin, another AlphaTauri. Oh wow, we've got an AlphaTauri almost stationary. Just a bit of a mess, but a predictable one. Short circuit, very narrow. And then a whole handful of drivers leaving it late. Just 5 of the 16 drivers are in the pits. Everyone else is out on track. As for your 2 leaders, Pantry Star and Afro, their session is over. Pantry Star will be happy that at least he broke that 1 second mark. Just 9/10 now. Skull P4 11.6. If you had asked me, I would have said that 11.6 was a good lap time. But 1.2 seconds down the road, I didn't expect that. 110.4. That front row leads the championship. P1 and P2 separated by 3 points. And Andre, he just set a fantastic time in sector 1. I believe that was purple. Let's see what he can do with the rest of this lap. Andre on the move. Skull also out on track. Mr. M on an out lap. Got Chums, Gotsy, Revolution, Damo all looking for better lap times. Ooh, and an AlphaTauri almost making contact with an Aston Martin, but luckily I don't know how much that's going to affect his lap time. It would have definitely affected his concentration, but don't know by how much. Andre over the line. Nice improvement. Takes him all the way up to P2 with an 11.3. And that is a very helpful lap time, especially here in Monaco. You want to start as high up the field as you can. This is the track where DRS is going to help you the least. Just the one DRS zone, and it's pretty useless. Short DRS zone, and it's not quite a straight. So passing will be a little bit more difficult than usual. And obviously the modern F1 cars, very big, very heavy, don't really suit Monaco. Chums has just gone P9, 112.5. Afro, even quicker. Even quicker. I didn't think he was going to go out again, but he did go out again. Just to prove a point, and it's a 110.0. Oh, so close to a 109. And if you had asked me at the beginning of the session a 109, I would have said you were insane. But oh, so close, a 110.0. Is anybody going to be able to challenge it? Realistically, the only one that could is Pantry Star. He's going around the corner, going around the final corner now. See if he can improve. A 111.399 goes into the 110s. One of 3 drivers in the 110s. But Afro, he reigns supreme, 7/10 ahead of the rest of the field. Still have Ulrich out on track. That battery looks pretty used. I think that's an in-lap. And then we have Gotsy going over the chicane, so that's also an in-lap. And it seems like for everybody else, the checkered flag has fallen. So I believe that is the end of quali. If you've just joined us, you've just missed qualifying. Checkered flag has fallen. And quite a dominating pole position, 7/10 of a second. But pole position isn't everything at this track. It's all about who's going to get out of turn 1 in first place. And then overtaking is a very different game. There are your official qualifying results. Afro takes pole position 110.0. Nobody came quite close. Mr. M 10.7. Pantry Star 10.8. Those three, the only three in the top 10. Then we've in the 110. Sorry. Then we've got Andre P4, Virus P5, Skull P6, Chums P7, Ulrich P8, Harsh Cartoon P9, and Gotzi makes up the top 10. Not in the top 10 this afternoon, Damo P11, Revolution P12, Dixie Killer 13th, Denap Magozi 14, Disguise 15. No lap time from Divan, he'll be starting 16th, and Top Gun retired early on in quali. I believe now we will have a short break, a 5-minute break, if I'm not mistaken, before the start of the race. Obviously just so the guys can make absolutely sure of their strategies and how it is they're going to approach this race, and more importantly in the short term, how they're going to approach turn 1. This can be a really tricky race if you start in the midfield. Not only do you have to worry about turn 1, wait until you get to the hairpin, things can get messy. See a lot of the same names in the comment section regardless of the league I'm commentating on, so I want to thank all of you that come back every night, Monday, Wednesday and Sundays. But tonight it's all about Monaco. The most expensive place in Europe to live. If you go 10 kilometers to the west, you'll find yourself in France. And if you go 10 kilometers to the east, you're going to find yourself in Italy. Yet 7 of the 20 F1 drivers have residence here in Monaco. And Skull, if you're listening, there's already support for you in the comms, in the comment section, so no pressure. Remember, one lap here around Monaco is very different to finishing race distance here in Monaco. You might have the lap times, you might have the speed, but on a narrow circuit like this, what all those cars around you are going to do is completely out of your control. And you have to put your faith in the other drivers around you. Because on this circuit, as much as you don't want to admit it, it's not in your hands. Personally, my favorite Monaco GP happened in 1996, was won by Olivier Panis. Only 4 cars finishing the race. The 3 cars on the podium finished on the lead lap. The car in 4th was like 2 laps behind. The rest of the field retired, including Michael Schumacher retiring from pole position on the formation lap when he aquaplaned straight into the arm curve. 1996 Monaco Grand Prix was a sad day if you were a Michael Schumacher fan. He watched him go from Benetton to a very broken Ferrari and eventually got his first pole position for Ferrari in Monaco and crashed on the formation lap. I have to say it again, we're in Monte Carlo and turn 1. I think it's more important than any other circuit on the calendar I can think of. There are circuits on the calendar with incredibly tight turn 1s, but in Monaco there's nowhere to run wide. You can't cut the circuit. It's all about the Armco, and there's the lights. And the lights are gone, and there they go. Aston Martin versus Red Bull into turn 1. Seems like Afro got the traction, goes into turn 1 nicely. Seems like most of the field, looks like everyone down to Top Gun did get through pretty nicely, pretty cleanly. Good driving from everyone in the field early on. So easy to make a disastrous lap 1 here in Monaco, but everybody doing a good job now. Virtual safety car very early on. Do we see a stationary car on the track map? No, we do not. So it was not a serious incident. Or do we? Seems like we have a McLaren. He's not stationary, he was just going awfully slowly, but Revolution will try and catch up as much as he can to the back of the field. Problem with the virtual safety car is it doesn't let you catch right up to the back of the field. You still need to drive within that delta. But Afro leads the way at the front. And there we go, we've got a green flag, we're back underway. Afro leads the way 1.1 seconds. He's already broken DRS. Mr. M P2, Pantry Star P3. Then we have the pair of AlphaTauris P4 and 5, Virus P6. Gozzi in the second, Aston Martin, he's up in P7. Then Harsh Cartoon 8, Damo P9. And Apmagozi making up the top 10. No real change at the front, still Afro, Mr. M, Pantry Star, Andre, Skull, Virus, in that order, Gozzi, everyone holding station for now. Seems like we have Gozzi. Seems like Gozzi's not in the lobby because that car is ghosting, and Andre has DNF'd. No safety car though. Afro, Mr. M chasing down the Alpine, but 2.3 seconds is the gap and another fastest lap. So Afro is on the move, converting that quali pace into race pace. We have had one retirement, that was the retirement of Andre. Those two AlphaTauris were doing incredibly well in the opening stages. So if anybody knows any info on that incident, because we didn't see it, let me know. Afro, Mr. Rem and Pantry Star. Then Skull in P4, who has now lost his teammate. Virus and Harsh Cartoon, the two Alfa Romeos, P5 and 6. Magozi in P10, he's started making a little bit of a habit lately. Last 2 or 3 rounds I've commentated on, of scoring points. Sometimes it's about the consistency, getting the car to the end. And even if you do everything right, hopefully your internet does everything right. SAFRL leads, and this gap is increasing quite alarmingly. That's 4 seconds already on lap 4. So at this rate, a second a lap, and Mr. M is going to have to put a stop to that, or at least slow it down, because this could get out of hand. Nice shot there of the Alfa Romeo. A car that you can only enjoy now in the game. Its 2024 predecessor looking quite different. We said Mr. M had to slow down the way Afro was getting away. We said a second a lap. Now it's lap 5, and look at it. It's 4.9 seconds. Just under a second a lap that he's pulling away. Let's have a look at the tires. What is happening over there? Maybe it'll give us a better explanation of why Mr. M can't quite keep up. It does give a bit of an explanation. Mr. M has started on the hard tire, so he's looking to go deep into this race, and we've got our second DNF. And this time, it's activated a safety car. There we see the broken wing, but unfortunately not the car. The skies obviously very clearly made contact with some of the Armco. Becomes the second retirement this evening. Started with 17 drivers, we're down to 15, and this is lap 5 of 39. For a lot of the guys, they don't really like the safety car. I like the safety car, and I'll tell you why. You have a situation like this, I'll tell you, Afro is probably the only unhappy man on the track when it comes to that safety car. If you're at the front and you're pulling away and you have the superior pace, this is the last thing you want. But if you're at the back and you need a little bit of help, this is perfect. And if you're in the comms box, this just closes up the field again. Evening in the comment section. I need to watch the comment section a little bit more. I can now because it's a safety car. Evening to Miguel. If you've just joined us, this is the first safety car of the evening. It was activated when Disguise became our second DNF. Andre was the first DNF and surprisingly didn't trigger a safety car. But we weren't that lucky second time round. And the man who will be most annoyed by that was the man at the front. His gap was just over 5 seconds when that safety car came out. And he was building a dominant position, only to have it all neutralized. Will you look at that? It's an Aston Martin 1-2. Counting the safety car. I remember really difficult to overtake here, but Mr. M didn't need to worry about overtaking. He was just trying to hold on. So he'll be grateful for this. Bring him back into the race, close that gap up. And he's really just going to have to be on his A game at the restart of this race. Doesn't want that Aston Martin to get away. Best case scenario for him, he jumps him at the start, takes the lead of the race, and holds Afro and his superior pace behind as long as possible. But that's going to take a super restart and a lot of bravery into turn one. On a track where being smart is usually the better bet over bravery. Circuit with no room for error. This can do one of two things. Can either give the drivers a bit of a breather. So much intense concentration needed around this circuit. For other drivers, it might just break their concentration. So watch that order at the restart. We're going to see some drivers making the jump. Might see a few just a little asleep at the restart. And since it's such a difficult circuit to make up positions, if you find yourself sleeping at the restart, you will almost certainly lose a position if you leave any sort of gap open. Seems like the entire field is now together, so we're waiting for some sort of confirmation. And there we go, confirmation. Safety car is in this lap, and we will be underway. And there we go, we're at the restart. Now everything is in Afro's hands. When does he go? How late does he leave it? And he's gone. Has he? There we go. Did get a bit of a jump on the McLaren. Look at that gap into turn one already. 0.8 of a second. Would have liked to have been a little closer than that. Afro leads the way. Mr. MP2, Pantry Star still P3. Skull P4. We have the first of the two Red Bulls. Made his way up the field quite nicely. Now up into P5. Damo. Top Gun. We saw retire from qualifying without setting a lap time. He started at the back of the field. He's up into P6, having a very fortunate start to the race. Large majority of the field choosing the medium compound. Just 3 of the drivers out there on hards. That's Mr. M, Gotzi, and Harsh Cartoon. First of the 2 AlphaTauris. First of the only AlphaTauri, sorry, we lost Andre early on in the race. Now getting hunted down by his senior team. Red Bull of Damo on the way, but he's coming under pressure from the man that's on his way up the field, who says passing at Monaco is impossible. Safety car yet again. Everyone suddenly going slowly. I look up nervously towards the top left of my screen, and there it is, safety car. Lap 10 of 39. We're into the second safety car of the evening. tell you who this is really working out for is Mr. M. Mr. M has chosen that harder compound. He's decided to go as deep into the race as possible. Now these guys on mediums, they're going to be in two minds. Do they pit? Yes, they do. No, they don't. Afro into the pits. I'm almost certain we're going to see the medium runners. Now this could actually go completely against what I said. I think we're going to have a situation now where those two drivers that had picked the hard, they're going to be in P1 and 2, but when the rest of the field comes out on a brand new set of tyres, surely you're not going to be able to hold them back on those hards for much longer. Almost in a bit of a compromising position. When this safety car activated, Mr. Rem was 3 seconds adrift from Afro. But now after the safety car, Mr. Rem will be in the lead of the race. Afro will be in P4, having already made a pit stop. I think that safety car may have just caught the McLaren out. Evening as well to Ricky. Obviously second safety car of the evening. As expected, we are in Monaco after all. Lap 12 of 39, race neutralized. We've lost 3 drivers. We've lost the Haas, we've lost the Merc, we've lost an AlphaTauri that was looking very promising at the start of the race. But now we have the top 3, Mr. M, Gozzi and Atmagozi. But those 3 cars at the front have not made a pit stop. My stream is just acting up, so just let me know in the comment section if you can still see the stream. For some reason it went dark on my screen, so let me know if you can still see it. Safety car in this lap. Mr. M. This time he's going to lead the field at the restart, but he's going to be in a slightly uncomfortable position. He's going to be approaching a pit stop window of his own. And he's going to have Afro behind him on a brand new set of mediums. Splitting Mr. M and Afro. We have Gozzi and Atmagozi. Mr. M, very nice start. 1.3 seconds as he goes into turn 1. Atmagozi P3. Afro with that new set of mediums, he's in P4. Remember, very, very dominant in quali, and then throughout the race he has been dominant. Results don't show it. That's as a result of safety cars cancelling out his gaps. Remember, he had a 5-second gap when the first safety car came out. He had another 3-second gap when the second safety car came out. Had those safety cars not interrupted his progress, who knows how far he would have been up the road. Williams versus Aston Martin. And now Afro is not going to waste any more time. He gets through, Virus gets through, Apmagozi loses 2 positions very quickly. He's down into P5. Now, will Afro have any trouble getting past his teammate? I don't imagine so. He's the championship leader. But that will be his next target. His teammate up the road who's on a very different strategy. So I don't think we'll see the two Aston Martins wrestle too much. As soon as he gets close enough, I think it will be a quick switch. There we go. Afro up into P2. Wouldn't make sense for those two to battle. And wow, Gotzi went down the escape road. I thought I saw the second Aston Martin going straight. Had to get confirmation. But Gotzi down the escape road. And his race now in shambles, as he still needs to make a pit stop and finds himself at the rear of the field. Luckily for the Aston Martin team, the fortunes of those two drivers weren't reversed. Afro still out in front. Set the best Sector 2 time of the evening, so he's on the move. Afro over the line, DRS enabled. Gap at the front, 1.8 seconds. Revolution into the pits, Dixie Killer into the pits. Mr. Rem and Apmagozi, the drivers who are still on the tyre they originally started on. Everyone else has made a pit stop. Apmagozi now coming under pressure. Pantry Star, Harsh Cartoon, Chums all looking for a way through. Top 3, Mr. Rem, Afro and Virus. Remember, Mr. Rem needs to pit. And pitting this shortly after a safety car. He could come down as far down as P10 or P11. And that's going to give him a very difficult second half of this race. Remember, it's the shortest track length on the calendar, so 39 laps. A lot of laps for a 50% race. We're not yet at halfway distance. And still so much can happen. Afro doesn't want to waste any more time. It's in the McLaren's best interest to hold him up as much as possible. As soon as he gets past, he's going to start making up a gap again, building up some progress again. And for Mr. M and for the rest of the field, the longer they can hold Afro under control, stop him from having his own free air, putting in lap times as he would want to, keep that car in front of him. But Mr. M, surely he's going to have to come into the pit soon. Lap 16 of 39. Hard tyres are now 15 laps old. Will he stay out? Will he dive into the pits? He stays out. This will be frustrating for the Aston Martin driver. He's got brand new tyres on. He wants to do some quick laps. DRS isn't that helpful around this circuit, so you need to get the pass done all on your own with no gimmicks. And it also happens to be the most narrow circuit on the calendar, so everything's against overtaking on this track. But overtaking does still happen, just requires really good driving and a little bit of bravery. But if that driver in front of you is able to maintain his lines, make no mistakes, and put that car exactly where he needs to, passing can become virtually impossible. Need to be close enough to apply the pressure. Close enough to take the opportunity if the mistake does present itself. But don't get too close that you're going to run into him. One more time around, stays out of the pits. Now Afro, he's got that 7-lap old set of mediums. Those tyres are supposed to be going around this track quickly, setting fastest laps. But he's stuck behind the McLaren. And I'm not sure who will be more annoyed. The McLaren and the Aston Martin have basically switched positions. But Mr. M still has to do a pit stop. So it looks like a very close race between these two. It's far from it. Chalmers picks up the first penalty of the evening. Not easy to pick up the 3-second penalty around this track. Cutting corners can sometimes result in broken suspensions. Mr. M still leads the way, still frustrating the Aston Martin. Virus still in P3, but not really able to make an impact on those top two. He's 4 seconds down the road. Goes around again, runs a little wide this time. Is that going to give Afro the opportunity to be that little bit closer? He does open DRS, but it's just not a long enough DRS zone. Bobbing, weaving, showing the nose to the left mirror, showing the nose to the right mirror, making sure the driver sees it, letting him know he's there. Almost into every corner now, just doing the dummy up the inside, letting him know he's there, applying the pressure as much as possible. But after all this, he will know in the back of his mind that if he can't get past him, Mr. M still needs to pit. But it is in the best interest of that McLaren to keep Afro there. But seems like they've done a switch, so I don't know if there was any sort of incident there with Mr. M giving up the position. And I'm almost certain we'll see him come into the pits. No, stays out. Ulrich in P10. He's the only car in the field on a set of softs. Will give us a slight indication of how long those softs can last. He's done 2 laps on them so far. Might see a whole swarm of cars towards the end of the race. Coming in, putting on softs. If we have another safety car, we've had 2 so far. Lost 3 drivers. Afro back in the lead of the race. Seems like he's been magnetically pulled back to the lead throughout. Initially I thought Mr. Rem had got the tyres just right. But it was actually quite the opposite. Just found himself on the wrong compound at the wrong time when that safety car came out. Couldn't afford to go into the pits at that stage. Tyres still had too much life. And while he's still in a very strong second place, effectively for the win, it would take a big mistake from this driver here. And as I say that, anyone who's watching and doesn't think commentators curse is a thing, there we go. Said he's been driving brilliantly and the back end stepped out in a very bad place. I might have just had to stop the stream if I caused that incident. Mr. Rem, he's now lost a lot of time, held up that Aston Martin for as long as he could. But now a whole 7 seconds down the road from Afro, who's just putting in lap time after lap time, now approaching the back of his teammate. It's a car that's ghosting, so he'll simply fly through on the inside. Skull becomes the latest DNF, and the second AlphaTauri to DNF this evening. There it is, into the barrier. That suspension's had enough, and luckily for us, it has not activated a safety car. Afro leads 10.2 seconds. Virus now P2, Pantry Star P3. Mr. M has made that pit stop. I wonder if the Ferrari's just going to get him. The Ferrari does get past, and Mr. M will emerge from the pits in P6. Chums the car ahead of him. Has very used mediums. Very unfortunate on the night for the AlphaTauri team. They have lost both drivers. That obviously always hurts in the constructors. Ideally, you want both cars in the points, but when both retire, we also have the Aston Martin of Gozzi ghosting around the track, as well as the Ferrari of Dixie Killer ghosting around the track. So effectively, we have 11 runners, unless anyone else is ghosting out there. Still a long way to go in this race, but so far things look like they couldn't get any better for Aston Martin at the front. Aston Martin will want this win. Obviously they've lost one car outside the points. That car is ghosting. So I don't think he's going to be making up any positions. So Afro will be the only one who can score points, so he might as well score maximum points. As for AlphaTauri, not a fruitful Monaco round. Afro 13 seconds up the road from Virus. Virus P2, Pantry Star P3, and we have a little bit of a battle here, it seems, for the P2 position. Alpine versus Alfa Romeo. I'm supposed to start calling this team the Kick F1 team, or is it the Kick Steak F? I don't know. Alfa Romeo, or we'll go with Sauber. Speaking of that Sauber team, they have something in common. They have an important stat concerning South Africa. Sauber made their debut at the South African Grand Prix in 1993. And that also saw the return of Mercedes engines to Formula One. Virus doing his best to keep Pantry Star behind. Not able to do much about the car ahead of him. Afro leads the way, 15.8 seconds. Ridiculous gap. The only thing that's going to close that gap is a late safety car. And as we get later and later on into this race, a safety car becomes less likely. We've lost 4 cars. We have another 2 ghosting around the circuit. Effectively 11 runners left in this race. Let's just try to get confirmation on that. There is Gotzi. Is he in control of this car? I think he is in control of this car. I think he's been able to rejoin. He's definitely ghosting earlier. As well as Dixie Killer doesn't appear to be ghosting anymore. So we should be back up to 13 runners. Dixie Killer absolutely needs that safety car. He's 46 seconds adrift from the rest of the field. That'll be his only saving grace for a result this evening. Unless we have a bunch of retirements up the field. Afro beginning to come through the traffic. Such dominance here in Monaco. And I remind you yet again, he had a combined gap of 8 seconds that was completely taken away by safety cars. Add that into the equation and you've got this guy leading by a pit stop. Ridiculous pace around the streets of Monte Carlo. Evening Skull, welcome to the comment section. What happened there? Became the second Alpha Tauri retiree. Guys, not big fans of Monaco. Damo gets a 5-second penalty. That'll be for speeding in the pit lane, and that's going to come back to bite him. Afro leads the way, 17.7 seconds, absolutely on the move. Such a dominant gap, but he's still throwing in the lap times, still picking up the pace, still increasing the gap. You've got to ask when's enough. For him it's not enough. I think he's going to push till the checkered flag. Almost looked like we had a McLaren going slowly there, but that was not the case. Virus P2, Pantry Star P3, Mr. M. Trying to find his way back onto the podium. Evening Bernard also in the comment section. We are on lap 27 of 39. There's not much we can say about the leader. He's just out there doing quali laps, doing time trial laps all by himself. He's 18 seconds up the road, almost 19. Virus P2. But he does not have a comfortable lead as the man in front of him does. He's defending from Pantry Star, 0.4 of a second. Oh yes, thank you. Putting the gamer tags and the real names together sometimes is quite difficult. Virus comes into the pits pretty late on in the race. He's going to slap on a set of softs. Afro did the same thing. So he's cancelled out that massive gap that he had. But now the pace will probably be ridiculous. Brand new set of softs. Clear track ahead of him. And we'll see what he can do in these closing stages. Mr. M, he's going to probably try and finish the race on that set of mediums. So his pace will continually go away from him as the race comes to an end. These guys on softs though, they can have a bit of fun. They've got 11 laps to go and they can throw these cars around on softs. Short racetrack, so 11 laps on these softs is not a lot. Pantry Star, you would have seen Afro coming into the pits and thought maybe there's a chance, but that gap already starting to grow. 4.4, I can't even keep up with it. 4.5 seconds. As for the two Ferraris, we haven't spoken about the Ferraris too much. Chums, he's in P7, having a pretty solid race, nicely in the points. His teammate not having a great evening. He's holding on, hoping for some crazy shenanigans at the front of the field, maybe to give him some points, but he's picked up a penalty to boot. And that won't make his evening any easier. Ulrich picks up a penalty as well. Penalties now starting to pop up on our screens with 10 laps to go. Where do you guys manage to find a corner to cut? Afro fastest lap of the race, a 1:11.9, going faster than a lot of drivers can go in quali. Pantry Star making his way through traffic up into P. He's still in P2. Went through, I think that was a ghosting Aston Martin, so I'm not sure of the status of that Aston Martin. Looked like he was ghosting earlier, then he looked fine a few laps ago, but just appears to be ghosting again. Mr. MP3, the two Alfa Romeos 4 and 5, double points. Solitary Ferrari in P6. Second McLaren, also on a set of softs. Currently in P7. 2.5 seconds down the road from Chums. He can still potentially take P6 in this race. But in some cases, we have massive gaps. Apmagozi picking up a 3-second time penalty, taking way too much of that chicane. Decides to hold on to the position. Perfectly entitled to do that because he's already picked up a penalty for it. And Dixie Killer still at the back of the field. Damo will be frustrated. Wanted to get past that Williams, but the Williams stays in front for now. Mangozi just outside the points. He needs one incident in front of him. Points mean a lot here in Monaco. Finishing the race means a lot here in Monaco. We've got a sideways Alpine. Or did I imagine that? We had a sideways Alpine. Afro leads the way. I think it was Pantry Star that was sideways. That gap 13 seconds now. Mr. Rems in P3. He's reclaimed his podium spot. Good drive on the night for the McLaren driver. There we go. Some more ghosting cars. Afro's done everything right tonight. Dominant performance in quali. Built up a massive gap. Safety car came out. Had to build that gap up again. Safety car came out again. Kept his cool throughout. And every time he's needed to, he's got into the lead and built a gap. Now we've got a virtual safety car. Crucially not a full safety car. Full safety car with 7 laps to go would be a disaster. This neutralizes the race, but it doesn't necessarily close the gaps in the field. So Afro will still maintain that 20-second gap at the start of the race. How far will Pantry Star go into this race? He's got 21 lap old hards. Eight seconds worth of penalties for Ulrich. That's the top penalties for the night. Top pit stops for the night. Dixie Killer. He's made 7. Hopefully Ferrari still has front wings at this point. May need to make an emergency call to Maranello. Top Gun speeding under the VSC, gets a drive through, and that's gonna hurt. He has to do that drive through within the next 3 laps or he will get disqualified from the race. Not serving a drive-through does not count for a penalty. Not serving a drive-through counts for a disqualification, so he's going to need to do it in the next 3 laps, and he doesn't want to get caught out. If you get a late safety car, you cannot do that drive-through under safety car. Probably best bet to come in straight away. Where is Top Gun? He's coming out of the tunnel, and he'll know that this drive-through is going to probably put him out of the points. Chums. Safety car. We have a safety car. I said it would be a disaster. I've just seen, I don't know what that was, but I'm pretty sure I just saw carbon fiber flying. So we're having a messy safety car at the end of the race. Lap 33 of 39. And if this takes us quite some time to bring the field back together, which I presume it will, because a lot of these guys are going to make pit stops now, we could get going only on maybe lap 35, lap 36, giving us a 3 or 4 lap sprint to the end on the streets of Monaco. Mr. M, he's come into the pits and he's put on a set of softs. He's come out in 4th place, and this race has changed very much for him. He's now in a very strong position at the end of this race. Brand new set of softs going into the final stint. As for your leader, we ride with your leader. Don't think we'll see a pit stop from him. Only 6 laps on those softs. He's got a Red Bull just behind him, but that Red Bull is out of position, which will definitely help him at the restart. Have a lapped car as a buffer between him and P2. But Mr. Rem, definitely a driver to watch in the final stint of this race. He's going to have superior grip. Virus is going to have a difficult time holding on to P3. But Harsh Cartoon and Revolution P5 and 6, they've gone with that same strategy. Brand new set of softs in the final stint of the race. Didn't see really as many pit stops as I thought we would. Afro has stayed out. Maybe didn't have another set of softs and didn't want to come out down the field this late in the race. Saw Afro with his superior pace getting stuck behind the McLaren for 2 or 3 laps. Can be very difficult to get around on this circuit, to overtake on this circuit. So it might be in your best interest to hold on to track position rather than jump into the pits. That is what Pantry Star has decided to do. He's decided to hold on to track position. But crucially for him, he has the oldest tyres on the circuit right now. 24 lap old hards. And I wonder how those tyres are going to feel in comparison to all the soft runners around him. Unfortunately for Pantry Star, I think if the safety car had been a lap or 2 later, he might have timed it perfect. But I think having 2 or 3 laps at the end, he's going to find it very difficult to keep those 4 soft runners right behind him from getting past. Red Bull into the pits, so that lapped car will not be an issue. Now we've got some late pit stops. Now what these late pit stops will do is they might just drag this safety car on for another lap. 3 tends to be the maximum, but we might get another lap here. Should give us a very short sprint to the end. And how painful would it be for the Aston Martin driver who's dominated all evening if it got snatched from him in turn 1 at the restart. But that is something that could still happen tonight. We could still get a crazy result. All comes down to what happens at this restart. Virus will know he needs to stay on the back of Afro, but he's got Pantry Star to get past. Pantry Star's going to be slow. He's got 25 lap old hards. It's crucial for the the two Alfa Romeos and Mr. M to clear that Alpine as quickly as possible if they have any hope of staying with the Aston Martin. Safety car in this lap. So it didn't extend the safety car. If you're too far back, well, you're not going to catch up, are you? We've got a Williams at the back of the field. It's not too far behind, but he's not going to be able to catch up to the back of the queue, and they're going to be underway. Afro yet again with another restart. He gets underway and he's going to lead the field into turn 1 yet again. This time Pantry Star in P2. Remember, old set of hards. Got Virus P3, Mr. M P4. A few cars look like they got out of shape there on the exit, but everybody getting through the corner cleanly. Harsh Cartoon P5, Revolution P6, Top Gun, he's in P7. All of those drivers I just mentioned are on the soft compound. They'll be looking to get their way up the field. The only two drivers not scoring points tonight so far, Apmagozi P11, Dixie Killer P12. Lap 37 of 39. Afro has immediately opened a comfortable gap. 2.3 seconds at the front. Pantry Star not as comfortable. He's got Virus all over the back of him. And Virus has to deal with Mr. M. And the longer these few battle, I think Harsh Cartoon could join this battle. No problems for the leader. Ulrich has retired from the session. Luckily no safety car, not enough time in the session. So that promotes Akmagozi into the points. I said he was making a habit of finishing in the points. And if he's able to bring the car home, it's going to be another point. Afro leads the way. Look at that Alpine. He made the choice to hold on to track position. He didn't take the temptation of running into the pits under safety car. Thought, I'm going to hold this position even on old tires. He backed himself that he would be able to hold these drivers behind him. Had it been any other track with those kilometer-long straights and ridiculous DRS zones, it would have been more difficult, but Monaco lets you do that. One of the last circuits on the calendar where defensive driving is still an art. DRS is enabled. Top Gun gets disqualified from the session. I think that came down to the drive-through that we mentioned earlier. Top Gun. There we go. He's right at the bottom of the field under the DNFs. So Top Gun has been disqualified from the session. I think that is due to not serving a drive-through penalty. So he will score no points. And as for Apmagozi, he gets promoted another position up into P9. Just 9 finishes from the 17 that started. And this lap is not yet over. I thought Pantry Star might have made a mistake with those tyres. I thought he might have been a sitting duck at the restart. But he's been able to do exactly what he needed to do. He wasn't going to stay with Afro not on those fresher softs, but he's been able to defend and defend extremely well. Holds on to that position till the checkered flag. He's going to take P2, hard-earned P2, Virus P3. That's your podium. Mr. M just missing out on the final step. He goes P4. And Harsh Cartoon makes up your top 5. We're just waiting for one more car. That's how small the field is at the end of the race. Akmagozi over the line. And that, folks, has been Season 6, Round 5 of SKR in Monte Carlo. Akmagozi, driver of the day. Take a screenshot. So there we go, there are your official results for the Monaco race, round 5 of season 6 here in SKR. Afro takes the victory. He won it from pole position, best lap time as well, so he takes 26 points home tonight. Pantry Star P2, Virus P3, Mr. M just missing out on a podium P4, Harsh Cartoon P5, Revolution P6, Gotzi P7, Damo P8, and making up the field tonight, Akmagozi P9. We have DNFs for Ulrich, Dixie Killer, Chums, Skull, Divan, Disguise, Andre, and a disqualification for Top Gun, not serving a drive-through penalty. I want to thank everybody who joined us here tonight for the race. It was a fantastic race. Fantastic race if you're an Aston Martin supporter. At least if you're an Afro supporter. Congratulations to everybody, to all the 9 cars that came over the line. That is an achievement in itself. We'll be back next week Sunday. If you watch all the streams from this channel, then we'll be back tomorrow night. You can join us then. Thanks for joining. Speak soon. Cheers, guys.